right. Welcome back to Prediction Frontier. Edwin Munyui here, head of research and also a co-founder at Prediction Frontier. So today we are going to be discussing something very interesting on the geopolitical developments. But before that, maybe I can just let my co-founder introduce himself.
Yo, hi guys. I'm Lujan Odera. I'm becoming a rather constant on this show, right? I'm Lujan Odera. I'm the educational lead at Prediction Frontier, and also a co-founder. And today I'm ready to talk about the latest developments on prediction markets, right? Yet another controversial bet or prediction market. So, Edwin, explain to me what you're talking about today.
Yes, and the Iran just reached a peace deal according to the latest news and according to media outlets and President Donald Trump himself. And it's turning out to be another disputed market on Polymarket, currently at 342 million. Yes, 342 million in dispute. The big question is, has the US and Iran reached a permanent peace deal?
Yeah. I think that's a whole other game that we are coming back again to talk about. I think it's all about the rules, right? I think this peace deal is a game changer. For me, I think, but diplomats from Pakistan, Qatar, US, Iran have all sat down and discussed the kind of peace deal which that's the whole issue. Is it a peace deal? Is it an MOU? But that's something that we discussed today. But on Polymarkets now, this brings another question of how the rules have been written, the vagueness of the rules. Is it yes? Is it no for this particular market, which is, I think, US-Iran permanent peace deal? By what date, right? There are usually many dates offered in this market. For the specific dates that we'll be talking about, I think it's June 15th and June 30th, since they're the closest to the market. Now, if it's June 15th, it's already passed. So that's what is currently being disputed. Was the deal that Donald Trump to Truth Social, is it a permanent deal? Is it an MOU? There's really a lot of disputes around this. So around this contract. So we saw yesterday, I think the whole contract before Donald Trump tweeted, the contract itself was sitting at 40% yes probability. But today, right now, checking it, I think it's up to 90% already, which means the market is not fully sure if it's a yes or no, but there's some hope it is a yes. You can't say 90% is really sure. 99%, 97%, maybe. But for these people, like it's not a sure bet, because we need to look at it in a deeper way, in rather a better way, since it's not fully sure. So maybe you can tell me what it is all about to do.
Yeah, indeed, it is a massive swing from 40 to 89% as of recording this podcast. But as we've seen in previous cases, and more recently in Michael Saylor's dispute on whether MicroStrategy sold Bitcoin by a certain date, the devil is in the details. And by the details, I mean the rules of resolution. So again, we are coming back to a disputed resolution. As of now, Polymarket had already resolved the market to a yes, that the US and Iran had agreed to a permanent peace deal. It was disputed in the first place, resolved again, and then disputed now the second time. So we'll have to wait for another 2 days so that we can know the final resolution. But what we are looking at here is different sources of news, some agreeing to one of the resolutions, some framing it differently. I would say we have the Guardian reporting that the US have reached to a framework peace deal. We have Donald Trump saying that guys should fire up their ships since the Strait of Hormuz is opening on Friday. And at the same time, we also have officials from the US and Iran preparing to go and sign a deal. At the same time, we're also looking at the nitty-gritties of a framework peace deal. that still has or could change depending on whether the teams that discuss during the 60 days agree on to the technical nitty-gritties of the deal.
Yeah,
So maybe just to give a perspective on some of the technical nitty-gritties, this will include discussing on Iran's nuclear facilities, on how much the uranium, on what percentage of how much they can enrich the uranium percentage, looking at whether Israel is going to withdraw from Lebanon. These are still issues that will be discussed during this 60-day period. But what we are really looking at here is whether the US and Iran have agreed to a permanent peace deal as of today, Monday, 15th June 2026.
yeah. I
Those
think
are
I
the
think
key friction points.
in the very point that you've said it's a permanent peace deal, right? I think as much as I see it as a permanent peace deal, I think there's also the point that so far, okay, maybe the peace deal will be reached and we hope it is reached. But so far, it is an MOU. It's a memorandum of understanding whereby they're like, we'll sit down and discuss these nitty-gritties that you have discussed about the nuclear enrichment. There is the whole issue of Israel withdrawing from Lebanon, which means they can sit down during the Friday's meeting, whereby the two parties have agreed to sit in Geneva on Friday and discuss if it will be a permanent peace deal. Now, uh, if there's if they decide to remain an MOU, there'll be a 60-day ceasefire extension, right? Which number one is not a permanent peace deal, right? It is a ceasefire, right? It is a ceasefire extension to conduct further detailed negotiations on a final nuclear agreement and permanent sanctions relief, which also Iran want, right? And with that, I think uh, it has brought a lot of prediction markets, analysts, and users to a halt and think really critically. Okay, does this mean the MOU is a permanent peace deal, or does it mean it's just a memorandum of understanding for a framework that brings peace for at least the next 60 days? Because if it's just a ceasefire, then you're not talking about a permanent peace agreement, right? Which is the rules of Polymarket, right? The Polymarket explicitly states that it must be a permanent peace agreement under the rules of its platform, right? So in that uh, there are these nitty-gritties that are to be ironed out during the sit down on 19th. What other maybe nitty-gritties could you give from this?
Mm, okay. From what you're saying is you are leaning to the point that this market should have resolved to a no. This is what I'm
Uh,
getting.
What I'm saying is the market's rules are not clear. I think it's very important to place it that
No, I
it's
mean,
not clear.
maybe you can just pull up the market rules and you can just share them. Because I
Yeah,
think one of the resolutions to this market was that both governments of the United States and Iran provide clear public information that a qualifying agreement has definitely been established. Negotiation statements of progress or other statements which do not constitute a definitive agreement that a qualifying agreement has been reached will not count. So far, I think looking at the socials, we do have President Trump already
yeah.
confirming or hinting to the fact that a deal has been reached. We also have Iranian officials hinting to the fact that military operations or will end permanently from today night. What else? We also have, yeah, basically, I would say those the announcements from the key officials would constitute of a consensus of credible reporting, since as you will pull up, this market had two criteria of resolution, either and not both.
Yeah,
So I
as I
think
think,
one of the criteria has been met because we have statements coming from the US and the Iran.
okay. I
A
think
peace deal has been reached, and it's going to be signed on Friday. We have Vice President JD Trump, who is going to be going to the signing. We also have the Iranian officials who are also going to be present at the signing. So I
yes.
think this peace deal, the resolution was dependent on the US officials and Iran officials, which is communication that we already have in as of today.
I think these are the two criteria that you are mentioning, right? So
Yeah,
I think it's important that we go through the rules step by step so that you can get to the bottom of it, right? Uh,
yeah,
the number one rule is if this market will resolve to yes. Right now, we are looking at the June 15th market, which is now at 91.5. When you are starting the podcast, was at 89. Now, according to this June 15th, it says the market will resolve to yes if Iran and the United States agree to a permanent peace deal by June 15th, which has passed 11:59 p.m. Otherwise, the market will resolve to no. A permanent peace deal refers to an agreement which explicitly indicates that military hostilities between US and Iran have ended or permanently will cease. So it's not only, it shouldn't end right now, but even if there's the hope that it will end in the future, then it's still okay. Or uses equivalent language, clearly signaling a lasting end to military hostilities between US and Iran.
exactly.
Agreements that,
I think
uh,
we already have some form of statement on
yeah,
ending of military hostilities between the two nations,
yeah,
including
according,
goodwill. Uh,
yeah.
Iranian assets will be released.
I believe Trump said, as you can see on the market context, yeah, the market context helps you understand what is happening in this specific market in lifetime, right?
Yeah,
So on the day this market peaked, Trump reiterated that the agreement was complete and that the Strait of Hormuz will be permanently open. This final affirmation locked in the near certain market view that a permanent peace deal will be in place by the end of the year. Okay. I think for me, the 9% that is remaining is just people who don't believe that Trump is saying the truth. Okay. Which is not a really weird thing to say because sometimes he hasn't been truthful in what he's saying. So I do understand the people still voting on no, right? People still voting on no still understand that maybe Trump can put his truth socials out and everything, since as much as the Iranian government has come out and said we will we'll go to
and
the meeting,
military hostilities.
yeah, and we'll open the Strait of Hormuz, right? I think
Yeah,
there was also a statement that they said uh, they 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 have a friction with understanding the US and believing them in full view, right? So there's that kind of talk still. These are two adversaries that have been adversaries since the 70s, the 80s, I think. So there's a lot of hostilities between the two. In as much as they can come together and say the permanent peace deal has been reached and has been signed, I think there's also an element of till it happens, right? Till June 19th, when they're sitting down and signing it, till it happens, there's still that kind of cloud judgment from this market, okay? I'm just talking from this market since it seems it's an already 99% lock, but there's still 10% to play around with. So the market still has some little bit of, nah, maybe it won't happen, a little bit of, okay, you say it, but will it really happen? But as you can see, it's now changing. I'm sure new news is popping up since it has already increased by a whole percentage. It's increasing and increasing 2 percentages so far. So maybe there's some new news, but
yeah,
yeah, it's a
probably.
stick
I think
yeah,
probably there's some new news coming into the market
to the
because we
market.
have it 4% up since we started the
Yeah,
podcast.
since we started. So definitely, but it seems it's a lock. Okay, it seems it's a lock. But let's go to the dispute. Okay, in as
Okay,
much
yeah,
as it's a lock, I think it's easier if we now discuss, right? If we have understood the rules, now it's us to discuss. Like, it's in dispute, right? It's in dispute. We need to understand why it's in dispute, and why it has gone into dispute, right? So the rules section, which I think everybody should be reading. Okay, it's the most important part of the question, or of the contract, is the rules, since it's what the rule says, it's how it will be resolved, right? Now, we have explained maybe in a bit that of why the market is still not fully priced in, right? Fully priced in.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like you to make us understand in a deeper sense why this market should be already priced in, right? Because I think I have another kind of idea of why it's not priced in. But why do you think it should be 99% priced in? I know there's the whole tweets and truth socials from Trump, the Iranian Defense Ministry talking.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, which
could you
is
maybe?
one of the resolution criteria, the second one
Yeah,
actually, that
yeah,
both governments of the US, I mean, the way I see it, I'm taking news coming in that JD Vance will be going to sign the agreement is a
yes,
signal or a confirmation from the US government that we have a deal in place.
yeah,
Same to the news coming in from the Iran side that they will be going to sign a deal. So
yeah,
that's my literal interpretation of this particular rule. But at the
I
same
think,
time, looking at some of the comments here, there could be some doubts because we don't have the every particular of the framework. So
yeah,
it leaves room for the 7%, which you're currently seeing. Maybe the document is out by now and it says there's a permanent peace deal.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Mhm. There's always a case of the market moving
Yeah,
faster. As you are on a podcast, the market is moving.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
we should probably check what's happening.
what's happening as the market, since the market has moved a lot, but still
Yeah.
it doesn't move. If it was
Oh, is that
definitive,
okay?
uh,
Okay, yeah, there's a comment here. Oops, deal already signed electronically yesterday. I don't know how
oh
legit
yeah,
that is.
just 1 second ago, you just
Yeah.
lost your argument, fools. Okay, okay. Let me just share for viewers who it's 1 second ago, and just as you were saying, there must have been maybe some. Let me share this so that people could also share in our news capturing. We have captured some news a second ago. So this is the comment. I hope we all can see. This is the comment.
Not yet. Yeah. CNN is reporting that while President JD Vance said the agreement was signed, yeah, the agreement was signed electronically over the weekend.
Yeah,
No
then
text has
that
been
is it.
released yet.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
so this is probably a good market. We should be locking in the
yeah,
6%.
there's the 6%. Yeah, there's 6% for this. I think all my no arguments go out of the window with this very idea. I think the
Yeah.
no arguments just go out of the window. But I think it's still important that we discuss on.
No, I mean, I think you probably still have something to cling on to, because
Uh,
if you argue that it's not a permanent peace deal, then could
yeah,
have
yeah,
some
because
substance.
yeah, I think the whole idea that people still understand that it is an MOU, right? My argument, how I saw it was, it is an MOU, right? It is an MOU, and this really does not mean it's a permanent peace deal, right? Because now,
Mhm, yeah.
if voters, okay, now let's first talk about the UMA protocol before I come to my point, right? I need the UMA protocol maybe on my side or not, but yeah.
Yeah.
So how disputes are resolved on polymarkets? It's simple. whereby the dispute is raised by someone, by a contract holder, then the dispute is taken to a platform called UMA protocol, right? Now, UMA protocol is like a court, right? A court whereby if you have UMA tokens, you can vote on whether you think it's a yes or a no. And that's the whole point. Now, if the yeses win on UMA protocol, the market is resolved yes. If the no holders vote no, it's resolved no. And how it usually happens, it's people with the most tokens. They vote. One token gives you a vote. So if you have 5,000 tokens, you have 5,000 votes. And that's how it goes, right? Now, on the UMA protocol, right? The voters, okay, it seems they had already resolved this market as a yes the first time since we are in the second dispute, right? So the first time, the interpretation of the contract guidelines and the public record was that this market is a yes, okay? But this is before the new information came in, right? We are looking at it. This is before the current information that we have had, that the document was signed electronically. So I want you to explain to me, okay, on the UMA protocol and maybe the case of no in this point, if maybe what was signed comes out as maybe a framework MOU rather than a permanent peace agreement, will it still count as a yes? Or will the UMA voters have something else in store for us?
Okay, maybe just to go back, I would go back to how these markets are being formed from the point of resolution. I think we need clarity. We need some serious clarity in the establishment of event contract markets, so that we don't have ambiguous wording that can't be interpreted for anything. At the same time, you have a valid point on UMA protocol. I myself will be interested to know who actually votes on UMA protocol, or have a tool that tracks whether they hold a certain percentage of a position if they are voting on UMA protocol, because I believe there are some serious interests when it comes to this type of voting. So yeah, you do have a valid point that I will not dispute much. At the same time, I think the market, the market as a source of truth is always converges to the truth. Of course, not all times. We are heading there, but there are some issues that need to be addressed. Because you can't have some judges sitting somewhere and we don't know whether they are also players. They have a stake somewhere. So you really are raising valid points when it comes to the resolution of event contract markets. And I think it's a challenge. It's a challenge for Polymarket and all other prediction market platforms. They do really need to look at the resolutions, and the traders as well. Whenever you're getting into a trade, you really need to look at the resolutions, look at the wording so that you're not caught off guard. But if markets are really a source of truth, this is not something we should be arguing about. It should be resolved as truth, not as bias or as interests or any affiliations to it.
Unluckily for maybe the no voters in this, if you're listening, if you are a no voter, maybe the market will already have resolved. But historically, UMA voters, they tend to look at the spirit of the market, like how is the market moving? How does it feel, right? I can give this with the example of Michael Saylor's vote. You can check our video right after this one, or go to the description and you'll find it, whereby the market decided that Michael Saylor didn't sell the Bitcoins because before a certain date, right? He didn't sell the Bitcoins before a certain date because it wasn't reported, okay? Now, it was resolved to no, I think, right? Yeah, it was resolved to
Yeah,
no.
it was a no.
Yeah, he didn't sell. And it's because the spirit of the market felt that there were more no voters than yes voters. So, which was I don't think it was the right thing to do in that particular market. In this one, I feel as if it is running towards the correct decision. However much that I would like to argue for no, I think it's heading to the right decision. But I think UMA voters should strictly stick to the literal definitions if the rule if and the rules written narrowly. Okay, so that there isn't a lot of vague language or ambiguous issues that arise on the rules, that we need to vote on the rule language, not the actual event, since that's what most disputes are for, whereby people are arguing about the language. Like, does this mean this rather than did it actually happen? Like right now, this
Exactly.
market, I'm sure it will be, yeah, it will be, is it an MOU? Yeah, is an MOU and a permanent peace agreement? Is it a 60-day ceasefire? It will be something of that sort rather than the
Yeah.
actual event that is happening. So I think this is an incredibly tightrope to walk for all of us in the prediction market space. But I pray that will be a little bit more clearer while forming the rules for certain markets. Again, sports markets, I think I said in the other video that sports markets really give that finality. It makes predictions really sweet and understandable, whereby it's very final. It's a 2-1 score, it's a 2-1 score. And if the 2-1 score, if the match is not completed, there are rules what will happen till the last rule, whereby it's alphabetical order. Okay, it's very hard for such situations. I understand that. It's so hard for
Yeah.
such situations, since what we want is peace, number one. So we'll not be arguing about if a peace agreement is being reached or not. We want it reached, right? We want peace in the world.
Of
So
course.
yeah, with these whole issues that come around, but I think I think you will close out. We had some scenarios before we started the podcast, whereby we had some scenarios that we thought the market would switch into. I think you can tell us the scenarios, Edu, right? So that we
Yeah.
can
So
wrap
we
up
had,
this one.
yeah,
Mm,
of course. Thanks for that,
yeah,
Lujan.
yeah,
At least I think from this conversation, it's clear that we need more clarity when it comes to the formation of markets and the resolution rules. So these are the scenarios we had. At first was a clean resolve. So this is President Trump and Iranian representatives sign a document that contains the word permanent or signals the halting of military hostilities. So that was the first scenario. We also had a second scenario where while while there is a tentative or already signed electronic document, maybe some of the technical issues in this particular peace framework will not be agreed upon because we already have the IDF coming out to say that they might stay in Lebanon for an unlimited time. At the same time, we have the Iranian officials pushing that they should be out of certain territories, including the mentioned one. So that was a scenario B. So what does this mean for today's market? If this comes back to alter the wording of a permanent peace deal. And then we also had like a scenario C, where the document would be signed, but named as an interim or a tentative or a transitionary document towards a permanent peace deal, actually. So all these are scenarios that will still likely play out because the market is yet to resolve, actually. Never much it's climbed to 93. Yes, the market is yet to resolve. So I believe we still don't have the truth even as of finalizing this podcast. And it beats the purpose of prediction markets because they truth resolved in finality. There's no two truths. It's one. It has to be one. That's why we have prediction markets as a source of truth, a wisdom of the crowd. So if the crowd is going to be arguing all the time about whether something is true, then it means something about the model is broken or needs to be fixed before prediction markets go to the next level where they could even They could even like determine political situations like we're already seeing this they could spiral into something bigger than just a prediction. So yeah, some technical stuff needs to be fixed, and so that we can have prediction markets, as they are called, a source of truth, actually playing a function of being a source of truth, and not just a place where we are always arguing about disputes. Okay, does it say this, does it say that? The idea is to bring truth before other news sources or biased platforms based on a crowd's wisdom, who have staked on their beliefs, or based on their sources of information. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe with those scenarios and the idea, the stakes couldn't be any higher. For us, for the world, I think this is a chance to step back from the brink of a catastrophic war, you know. But for the markets, I think it's a masterclass in reading the fine print. And for polymarkets, it is a chance to give less ambiguous rulings and make the market resolutions more seamless, right? So, yeah, I think that's all from me today. Maybe from you, Edwin.
Yeah, thanks, Lujan. Always a pleasure to have this conversation, and
Yeah.
always great to be breaking the news in prediction markets. We'll be doing this more frequently, like you said. Do follow us on Prediction Frontier on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and we also have a Telegram group where we'll be shooting news as they develop. Yeah, give us a follow, and we are very interested to hear what our viewers have to say, and contribute to these conversations as our prediction markets continue to grow. Remember, Sailor's market was just on 70 million. This market is 340, twice that. So we'll probably have 10 billion dispute in in another year or so. What happens when 10 billion is in dispute? It's a proper chaos.
Yeah, yeah.
But do follow us so that we can keep you in touch.
Okay, like, follow, subscribe. Thank you, and see you next time.
All right.